the case of Charlie Kirk. And what's your feeling? What's your understanding? It's you look at the assassination, you look at the guy that they're talking about, Taylor Robinson. He's coming from a conservative family. Then he's is engaged in a relationship with a transgender guy. And it's the whole story is somehow amazing. The text messages between the two is somehow people from your age talking and in their 22. And they're talking to each other. What's going on? What do you make out of what's going on with the case of Charlie Clark? You see Tucker Carlson coming out that he says what has happened to Charlie Kirk is much deeper than what we've been we've been told by the administration. And Donald Trump coming out that it was this guy he assassinated. There is no link beyond that. You're taking that.
Well, I agree with you, Nima. The official story we're getting is nonsense. It's impossible, and it bears no relationship to any fact. Remember now, they arrested this Robinson guy. What's his first name? Uh,
Taylor.
Ta- Tyler
Tyler Robinson.
Robinson.
Yeah, Tyler.
Okay, they arrested him with no evidence. They had no evidence. They claimed the rifle out in the woods was his. As far as we know, it was planted. But the reason I say they had no evidence is they didn't have a bullet. And if you don't have a bullet, you can't use the rifle to find the markings it makes on a bullet to find out if the bullet that allegedly was used to kill Charlie Kirk was fired from that rifle. And so they arrested him with no evidence. They had no evidence. There was no evidence because they didn't have a bullet. Now, this bullet story is really peculiar because I kept seeing that they were looking for the bullet. They hadn't found the bullet. And now the story came out the last day or two that, the surgeon found the bullet. It was still under the skin in Charlie Kirk's neck. There was no exit wound. In other words, it took them several days to discover there was no exit wound. I mean, really. And we had this report allegedly from the surgeon via Charlie Kirk's right-hand man in the organization that Charlie Kirk was in such extraordinary health that he was a man of steel, and that the bone mass stopped the bullet from exiting. Well, now this is another preposterous story. What's the bone mass in your neck? There's no bone mass. There's a little bit connects the head to the spinal cord. If this was a 306 round, which they say that is a caliber for large animals, grizzly bears, moose, it'd blow a man's head off. It would decapitate him. And it's stuck in his neck. Well, the first reports didn't say that the surgeon had found the bullet. He just said, hey, there's no exit wound. This makes no sense. A 30-06 isn't going to be stopped by a person's neck. But the later reports, he's got the bullet. Well, I'd like to know what caliber it is. It's impossible that it's a 30-06 unless it was in some amazing way defective. So the whole story stinks. Now, there is available now on the internet a very clear video of a man standing right in front of Charlie Kirk, just a few feet away. There's a railing between them, but I think you could actually reach over and touch him. And you get a clear picture of the man. You know what he looks like. As far as I can tell, there's no effort made to locate this person, to identify him, or to question him. But if you watch this video, I posted it this morning at the end of my column. It shows, or it appears to show, that this man assassinated Kirk with what's known as a palm pistol. It's a little thing that fits in your hand. And you can see him. He's standing kind of sideways. And at the right moment, he raises this arm up, and this hand goes here. And as soon as you see the bullet hit Kirk, you see his hand, not much, but just a little from the recoil. And then he hops over the fence and rushes to Charlie's aid, which is a good way to escape. He's one of the people aiding the shot Kirk. Well, this should get plenty of attention. This, in fact, it looks to me like you can even see the pistol barrel in between his fingers. Now, with the just a little bit of recoil it shows, it's clearly not a 308. His hand would come back and slapped him in the face. I know all about high-powered rifles. So what was it? 17 caliber, 22 caliber, 25 at the most. It wasn't a high-powered rifle round. So, and then I see there was a report from some other surgeon who hasn't seen it, who's not doing the exploration of Charlie, but he says the trajectory doesn't, the trajectory of the bullet doesn't match the theory that it came from a roof. So we have all of this. What is it? What does it tell us? Well, it tells us that it went away for a minute. It tells us that the control narrative is having trouble. There's a lot of trouble with this control narrative, but they're having some success because the fact that the surgeon says that Charlie Kirk's bone mass stopped the bullet, now all Charlie's Christian supporters are thanking God for the miracle of Charlie's strength, which prevented the people standing behind him from being hit by the bullet going through and hitting them. And so, in other words, everything's off focus. The narrative controllers they've even got Charlie Kirk supporters off focus, talking about the miracle, God's miracle of Charlie's bone mass. And you can see where that'll go. And then we see the narrative controllers getting the rest of us all focused, talking about transgendered roommates and hidden messages of Tyler Robinson admitting his confession. In other words, there's no confession, but the media is creating the impression that there is one, a hidden message, that it, and the media said, and it appears like Tyler Robinson might have confessed online. So the confession appears like, or is hidden. So they've been given, these stories are being planted on them by whoever handled this assassination. It fits the pattern that we see over and over. It fits the pattern that James Jesus Angleton told me about. So my view is until somebody can explain how a human neck stopped 30-06 from having an exit wound, and somebody can prove that the bullet that they took from Charlie's neck, apparently, was fired from that rifle. I don't believe a word of it. Not a word. And I think that, yeah, I think we discussed this before, maybe not. The two elements, the two entities that had the strongest motive was the American establishment. Why? Because here's a rising leader they don't control. He doesn't talk the language. He's talking the family, God, Christianity. He's talking all the things that they've been busy getting rid of for years. So they have a very good motive, the same reason they got rid of Martin Luther King. He was a rising leader. They didn't control him. The ruling establishment will not tolerate a leader they can't control. Look what they tried to do to Trump. 8 years, 4 false indictments, how many false civil suits, constant propaganda, Russiagate, Documents Gate, an Insurrection Gate, Stripper Gate. It was endless. This is what they do to anyone they can't control. Now, what is the other entity that had the strong motive? Israel. Why? Why? Because apparently in the beginning, like any American conservative, Charlie Kirk was aligned with Israel. Americans have been aligned with Israel since the beginning of the Cold War. They're also aligned because of this myth of the Judeo-Christian ethic, which doesn't exist. It's a hoax. But Christian conservatives are just accustomed to being aligned with Israel. Well, they were our ally in the Cold War against Russian influence in the Middle East and our ability to control the oil flows, all of that. So conservatives don't even think about it. They're just automatically in Israel's camp. Well, Charlie Kirk was like that. And then he started noticing things like he noticed elsewhere. And he started raising issues. And toward the end, he was being quite critical of Israel. Well, if Netanyahu sees this, he says, well, look, this is the leader of the rising generation. And he's leading the rising generation. That's going to be the future leaders out of Israel's camp. We have to get rid of him. So that's my take on it all. They're two different entities, both powerful, both capable of assassinating whoever they want to assassinate. Both had strong motives to assassinate him. The official narrative makes no sense. They arrest Tyler Robinson before they have any evidence. They don't even have the bullet. If you don't have the bullet, you can't prove it came from the gun that they say is his. And as of yesterday, my search, I couldn't find anywhere that this Tyler Robinson had confessed. I saw one post that allegedly has Tyler Robinson saying they don't have a case against me. They haven't proved their case. I agree with him. What is the case? He's arrested and blamed before there's any link between the bullet and the gun. And we still don't know what the link is between him and the gun. We don't know what that link is. So that's my take on it. This is a professional political assassination to get rid of somebody who was disturbing the situation.